that felt like it was going to be a lot better in my head. I'm sat here in the dark because I've got these two 1/12 scale light up lightsabers that I wanted to show you. I've also got a blue one as well, so I've been looking for an excuse to get these into my collection, and the excuse was this Kenobi Vader Showdown that I'm about to build, because I've also got a Massassi Model, Massassi Models, 1/12 scale files that I've printed up. There are three options of the size for the Massassi models. So there's a small and shallow, there's the wide and sort of half deep, and there's the wide and fully deep. There's lots of different size options to suit your shelves. I had to choose not the fully deep. I wish I had the space for the one at the back, but I still chose the biggest version I could, so I'm going to put that into place. These little things, which I think are rather cool, come from CJ Customs, by the way. So I'll put the link to that below. Not a sponsored video or anything, as always, just something I wanted to try out. So I'm going to put it all together along with some SH Figure Arts Obi-Wan and Vader, just to have a little play with those. See how this thing goes down. We're not going to the painting cupboard because this project was too damn big. So instead, we are going to the kitchen table, which I took over. So thank you to my wife for indulging my proclivities once again. So I filmed the build. We're going to see what it looks like finished. Then we'll see what it looks like on the shelf. And we'll rejoin here. So meet me back here in a few minutes. All right. Enjoy it. So here's all the pieces. Well, it's not actually all the pieces because I forgot some. Some you can tell what they are, like the blast doors here, and the actual doors, or a bit of the doors, just sort of slot in here. There is an option to print out bigger doors, and we're going to come to those a little bit later. See a bit of those. But there's a lot of pieces. So it took quite a while to print all these out. One of the hardest things was keeping on track of what I'd printed and what I hadn't, because I printed it over the course of a few weeks, stop-start. A little bit of sanding needed on those bits there, and all of the bits pretty much need the brim pulled off. So time for a bit of a tidy up. While I'm sorting through this at high speed, it might be a good time to take a look at the instructions. So the creator's done a great job of giving you different options. So I'm making this one here, the wide short set. I'd like to have made the deeper one, but I don't have space on my display shelf. So that's what I'm making. And then it tells you how many of each piece you need, depending on which set you're making. It's not without complication because it's simultaneously describing how to build several different sets. But I can't think of a better way to do it, so I think it is really well done, and it walks you through what you need to do. So yeah, hats off. That's really nicely done. So there wasn't a great deal of tidying up, just this little bit of edging just to tidy up here. A little bit of sanding on the pipes. I could have got away with that probably because I'm going to use a filler primer in a moment. Little tidy up. And here comes the filler, I think, which is a high coat just off Amazon, about £7. I think it does a pretty good job. That negates a lot of faff. And then the overall colour I decided to use was this Montana Black Space. So there's the number there. If you caught it, I'll put it in the description as well, of course. Quite pleasingly, actually, there's very little painting to be done other than covering everything with that single colour, that blue-black colour. This is the exception, so the pipe work that goes above the blast door, that needs to be in gunmetal, so I'm just spraying that here, and then a little bit of silver work just going on the top afterwards in a moment. And then I decided to give it a bit of weathering. And I know the Death Star wasn't really around long enough to be gathering too much dust and dirt, but it just felt like the right thing to do, to put a bit of weathering around the pipe work. I don't know if it really notices in the end result, maybe you can tell me, but that's what I did. Now we're on to assembly. So just starting to stick together, beginning with the blast doors, a little bit of a sand, a little bit of super glue. Try not to super glue yourself to yourself is my motto, which I always fail at. And from there, a little bit of perfect plastic putty just to smoothen the joins. Didn't need to do any sanding, just use a little bit of water just to keep it smooth and then save a bit of work later. Just to try and cover over the fill lines, the join lines. But didn't do any sanding, nothing serious here. Then onto the walls. So we've got two types of wall basically. There's the standard wall here, which just has a cover on it, and then there's the lighting wall, which is the one with the box with the holes in the back. I, as we're about to see, didn't particularly fancy doing all the soldering on my first time using LED lighting, so I used some strip lighting, and that turned out okay. So I'll talk you through that in a second. But the walls build the same, so either you've got the non-lit walls on the left or the lit wall on the right. And you can see I'm really just following along. You can see on the iPad there's instructions, which covers to put on which walls, and just a little bit of assembly. Next, we're into the slightly more challenging area of the lighting, and I start by taking an angle grinder, yes, you heard me, an angle grinder, to the lighting boxes and just carving a channel out. So again, I didn't want to do these LEDs, so I had a little bit of strip lighting left over from my bamboo printer, actually, that I ordered and never used. And so it's 5 volts, it's 5 meters, I think. And so using that channel now, I'm just sticking down the LED all the way around the edge of each lighting box, because that was how I found it gave the best consistency. I didn't want the lighting too weak, I didn't want to be able to see the actual LED lights, and the foil at the back there just diffuses the light a bit more evenly, bounces it around inside the light box. So this is how I found to do it. You may well find a different or even better way, but I just stick these foil bits down. I did wonder about the foil touching the electrics, so I ended up shoving them back a little bit from the lighting itself. Next, I'm making the diffuser, and so here's a little bit of packing tape which was recommended, but I didn't have enough, and it was, I don't know, I didn't quite like the texture, so I also found some tissue paper and lined that up and then put it in a laminator. So big shout out to Phil Allen on Massassi Model's Facebook group, who recommended then laminating the diffuser as well. So my hat goes off to you, Phil. Thanks, mate. Worked out very nicely. I would show you the whole of this piece of laminating, but I'm going to save it for the director's cut, so you can watch that in full another time. Then stick it down to the laminated piece there, cut it out, stick it on. And I found that worked pretty nicely, actually. So I found one piece of the packing strip plus 2-ply of tissue, and then laminate the whole thing in a document pocket, and away you go. And I just repeated that for all the different versions. It wasn't the tidiest way to do it. I'm sure I could do it better another time around, but there we go. And then for another wall, just repeating the process, a lot faster this time. Look how fast I'm moving. And yeah, same process again. So making the tissue, the laminating it, putting it in the thing, and then just working through the process. Once you've got the hang of it, it really is, it's super simple. Once you found what you were being expected to do, and the instructions are actually really clear as well. So here again, just marking up. There we go. And almost finished. It was really cool making these Death Star, like these lights that are so iconic to the Death Star. And then here, getting outside and spraying everything in that color pretty much. Starting to assemble it all together now. Good old splodge of Loctite super glue again as usual. You can see some stuff's painted, some stuff isn't here. And just starting to, wait, what's this? Side camera? I'm running a 2-camera operation here. Very swish. And then the back panel is like a slightly smaller piece. Those sort of T-bars here I had to print separately because the Bambu P1S wasn't big enough to print them whole, unfortunately, so I had to cut them up a little bit. Again, marking out where I'm going to be using the grinder to create the channels. Once I've done those, laying the lighting just the same. And then I actually had to change the LED light strip. I didn't have enough to do the back panel as well, so I changed to a different type of LED strip, which annoyingly was slightly brighter. This is the first one. So this was all fine. Usual methodology here, the silver foil, stick it all down. And I found a really good way to weight these things down is by Hugh Fearnley-Whittinstall's book, Light and Easy. It's ironic, really. I mean, it might be easy, but thankfully the book isn't light. So that weighed us down nicely. Thanks, Hugh. Then the roof piece is just a series of these bars, and then if you want to, you can create some sort of, I guess, stripy lighting. I made these. I put the roof on, but I didn't do a lot of lighting from the top in the final piece. But it's good to know that it's there, and I wasn't going to not print the roof. So that's the roof. Here's the replacement LED strip. It actually came in 2 meter lengths, which was just long enough. So I'll put the link to that in the description, because actually it means you don't have to do any cutting. It does mean that each one has got its own USB. I guess you could link it up to another, but I'm actually currently now using 2 USB sockets to power. The side ones have got 1 USB and they're linked together, and then that back panel has got its own USB. But it's still 5 volt, so it's just a fairly low voltage. Marking this out again, same old thing, and we go, blah blah blah. But it was quite pleasing. Ended up doing this over Christmas. It's quite nice, I suppose. Makes a change from watching Spartacus a 3rd time. Back with Hugh for the weighing down, and now you can see that the panels are painted. They're starting to look a bit more Death Starry, that nice dark sort of grey blue, and getting the panels stuck together. There is holes to sort of mark them together, and I probably should have used some dowels, which I used matchstick dowels for a lot of the other stuff. I probably should have used it for the sides, but didn't. There we go. Just putting it all together, so it's starting to look like the Death Star a bit now, which is kind of cool. There's the roof, just rest that on. I do spray that darker. I don't think we see it finished, but it is there and finished. And then these front pieces, these front panels, slightly different again. So they're to the left and the right of the blast door. Just tidying them up, sticking them down. But really nice detailing. It's super accurate to the screen version as far as I can make out. So really well done again to Massassi Models. Really nicely done. And then here you can see what I mean about using the doweling. Just a little bit of matchstick just to hold them together along with the glue, just to provide a bit of extra stability. And then sticking them again with a little bit of matchstick, just holding them into the sides and wedging them together. So now it's really starting to take shape. I've got the control panels that I need to put in here, and so to do that I've printed out the appropriate bits. I did try and print them in black, but it came out a bit stringy, so I actually chopped off the buttons because you could just paint the buttons that are on there, but I wanted to use gems and stuff. I really like these paint pens. I think they're by Posca, and they're just the fine nib. Really nice, really, really easy to use. I like using those nice bright colours. And I even do a little bit of detailing with the pen, just to pull out a little bit of detail that's in the sculpt. A little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. And then the gemstones I used some, but some looked a little bit bright. So I took these gemstones and then scraped off the silver back. So scraped the back off them, and then they became just sort of cloudy white, which was much closer to what it looked like on screen. So having scraped that around on a bit of very fine sandpaper, I then stuck them on, and I think if we can zoom in, we'll be able to see, yeah, it's just a bit sort of like frosty. But I think just a nicer effect than just painting. It's nice to have something that looks a bit more like a light. And then just touching up some bits and pieces here. Same process. A bit fiddly, especially when you've got my fat hands. Get those in there. And then sticking them in the appropriate places. On the right, on the left, and you can see I've done the one on the back already. The blast doors here, look, these are those pieces you can slot in. And then the final thing, I thought I was out. I thought I was finished. And I thought, no, I'll go in and shade these bits with just some pencil that gives it a little bit more contrast. I thought I finished it nicely.
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, Darth.
So, you made it back. There it is. After that short but dramatic scene, I really enjoyed putting that together with the face change for Obi-Wan Kenobi was a lot of fun. And cool that he came with that bit of empty cape that you saw on the floor. That came with the SH Figure Arts Obi-Wan. So that was a lot of fun. There's something weird about the body of the Vader. It seems to move in a really strange way, but otherwise cool, lots of hand swaps and all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, we're not here to do a review. Here's what it looks like on the shelf. It's a great piece on the shelf, this. Always hard to show the scale on these little videos, but it looks great on the shelf. It looks really cool. Just need to push that together a bit tighter. But the controls look all right. I think they look pretty good. And then let's get inside a little bit, hopefully show you bit of the contrast of the sort of shading I did with the pencil. Yeah, looks pretty good. There you go. That looks pretty good there. The ceiling, I'll give myself a 6 out of 10 there. I could stick that together better, but I'm not going to look up there. There's no way I'm going to see that in there, so that's not going to bother me. Yeah, overall, I think it looks super cool on the shelf. Very pleased. So that's it for now. Let me know what you thought. Please do like, comment, subscribe. I don't know what's coming next in terms of projects, but whatever it is, you subscribers will be the first to know. Otherwise, have a great time. I'll see you soon. Bye.